Have you ever just looked up at the night sky and wondered, what else is out there? I mean, really wondered. It's a question we've been asking forever. Today we're going to dive into some of the most bizarre and controversial photos ever taken on the Moon and Mars, images that have some people convinced we've already found the answer.
This is the big one, isn't it? It's the question that drives basically everything we do in space. We've spent billions upon billions of dollars sending tiny robots millions of miles across the solar system, all just to get a little closer to answering this one single question.
So where do you even begin a search this big? Well, you start close to home, with our celestial next-door neighbor, the Moon. It was the first place we ever looked, and yeah, it was the first place we found things that made us go,
Okay, let's just set the scene real quick. Back in the late 60s, humanity did something truly incredible. We actually sent people to orbit and then walk on the Moon. They scooped up rocks, planted a flag, and took thousands of photos, giving us our very first up-close and personal look at another world.
But then, decades later, researchers like this guy, Scott Waring, started going back through those official NASA photos with a fine-tooth comb, and they started pointing out things that just didn't seem to fit. And this, right here, is where our little investigation really kicks off. The first major head-scratcher came when people spotted what they could only describe as a building. I mean, look at it. It's got sharp, geometric angles, straight lines, things that look completely out of place when everything else on the Moon is soft, rounded, and covered in craters.
And here's where it gets really weird. After this discovery started making waves online, NASA updated its photo archive. And in the new version of that same picture, poof, the structure was gone, vanished. So that leaves you with two wild possibilities, right? Did NASA edit it out to hide something? Or did something on the Moon actually move?
But that little structure wasn't the only lunar puzzle. On the far side of the Moon, the so-called dark side we can never see from Earth, scientists found something else. Something absolutely massive, covering more than 5,000 square kilometers, hidden just below the surface. So what is this gigantic thing? The official theory is pretty straightforward. It's a huge chunk of metal left over from an asteroid that slammed into the Moon billions of years ago. But others argue an impact that big would have shattered the Moon to pieces. Their counter theory is a little more out there. They say it's not from an impact at all, but that it's evidence of a massive, underground, alien civilization. So the Moon gave us some really intriguing clues. But now, our investigation is going to shift to a planet that has always captured our imagination as a potential second home for life, the red planet, Mars. But here's the thing about Mars. It is incredibly hard to get to. It can be up to 400 million kilometers away, a journey that takes about 7 months. And get this, of the 21 rovers we've ever tried to send there, only 4 have actually landed safely and done their job. It just shows you how determined we are to figure out its secrets.
And there's a really good reason for all that effort. Scientists are pretty much all in agreement that billions of years ago, Mars wasn't a cold, red desert. It was a blue world. It had vast oceans, a thick atmosphere. It was, for all intents and purposes, a lot like Earth.
So, what have our little robotic explorers found on this ancient, possibly Earth-like world? Well, one of the first anomalies that really got people talking was something that looked incredibly familiar, yet completely impossible.
In a picture taken by the Curiosity rover, you can see a field of random broken rocks. But one object just jumps out at you. It has the almost perfect geometric shape of a small pyramid. It just doesn't look like it belongs. So people started asking who or what could have made it.
But that little pyramid was just the appetizer. The most iconic, most debated Martian anomaly of all time wasn't found by a rover on the ground, but by a satellite looking down from high up in orbit.
And here it is, the famous face on Mars. Taken all the way back in 1976, this picture shows a massive, mile-long hill that, well, our brains just can't help but see it as a face, staring up into the void. This one picture captured the public's imagination like nothing else, and sparked a debate that's still going strong today.
And you know what? The face was just the beginning. As our camera technology got way better and we started getting these stunning high-resolution images back from the rovers, the catalog of Martian oddities just exploded.
And the variety is just wild. Observers have pointed out what looks exactly like a fossilized thigh bone, another object that's a dead ringer for a complete skull, even a rock shaped perfectly like a fish. There's a fuzzy image of a distant figure that looks like a statue of a woman. And maybe weirdest of all, a metallic-looking object half buried in the sand that some people swear looks like a piece of an engine.
But for those who are convinced there's life on Mars right now, this image might be their smoking gun. It was taken by a rover at night, and it appears to show an artificial beam of light shining out from inside a rock formation. Alien researchers say this is it. This is proof of current active life on Mars.
Okay, so we've seen a mountain of pretty strange evidence. But what's the official explanation for all of this? Is there a more down-to-earth answer? This brings us to the other side of the story. Let's go back to that famous face. The claim is that it's a giant artificial monument. NASA's explanation? It's a completely natural mountain. And those features that look like eyes and a mouth, they're just a random trick of light and shadow caused by the sun hitting the mountain at a very specific angle. So the key idea that scientists bring up over and over again is this: pareidolia. It's a well-known thing our brains do. We are hardwired to see familiar patterns, especially faces, in random shapes and shadows. It's literally why you see animals in the clouds or a man in the moon. Our brain is just trying to make sense of random data. And you can apply this idea to all the other weird things. Take the Martian bone. One side says it's a fossil, but NASA and planetary scientists say, nope, it's just a rock that's been sandblasted by thousands of years of powerful Martian winds, which just happened to carve it into this coincidental bone-like shape.
So we're left with two completely different narratives. On one hand, you have this growing collection of photos that believers say points to a hidden history on other worlds. And on the other hand, you have the scientific explanation of geology, erosion, and tricks that our own minds play on us. Which brings us right back to the final question. Are all these strange objects just rocks and shadows being misinterpreted by our pattern-seeking brains? Or are we seeing the faint, weathered clues of ancient civilizations, a secret history written on other worlds just waiting to be uncovered? The truth is still out there.